Hi, it's Martin and welcome to this video looking at our new text-to-speech component. This component will ship with Pano2VR 6.1.9 and above. Now the reason why we've created this component is over the last few months we've been asked about Pano2VR making more accessible tours. Now we've been able to do this for a long time, but one of the things that was missing was the audio. What you had to do was create MPEG-3 audio clips for everything that you wanted, like text descriptions of panoramas and individual text boxes. What this component will do is utilize the voice of your computer. With that said, we've tested this with Windows and Mac on all the top browsers. We've also tested with iOS and Android, and it works with those as well. And as it's using your computer's voice, you can change, the settings of your computer. So you can change the gender, you can change the accents, etc., etc. Okay, so that's what it is, and that's why we have it, and you'll find it in the Components Toolbox. So here is the skin open. If I click and open the Components Toolbox, under the categories of built-in, you scroll down and you'll see text-to-speech. You can right button click and insert component that way, or you can just double click and close the Components Toolbox. Here it is. If I drag it out, it is made of an image and a mouse click go to our action with a clever bit of JavaScript. Okay, so and what I'm going to do is just save and output the project just to see what it will do straight away.
Parent text not found.
That's it. It's saying parent text not found because we haven't got anything for it to read. Okay, so if I go back to the skin, I'm going to select text box, add that to the skin, and I'm going to give the text box some text. So speak this text. To make this work, you just drag and drop and make the text element, or the component, a child of the text element. Okay, so let's just make that a bit longer and make that over there. There we go. And now when we save and create the output,
speak this text.
There you go. That's exactly what it's doing. All right, so it speaks the text of a text box. Okay, what I'm going to do is add another one. There we go. And this time round, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a child of our logo. All right, so let's just move that over there. And let's just save, export, and let's see what this will do.
Parent text not found.
Right, because there is no text here. However, for a long time, we've actually had, for all the image elements, alt text. And this was for screen readers and other devices to help accessibility. The problem with that was that not all screen readers can actually, when you're tabbing around a browser, can't actually tab around everything in an OpenGL window. So it was pretty much null and void, but now our component will read this text. So I can actually type in here now, garden gnome logo. All right. And that should now just speak it. So let's just do that.
Garden gnome logo.
There you go. Right, okay. Now, what we can also get it to do is we have an info pop-up. All right, so within the tour, I've got a hotspot with an information button. When I press that, we get lots of text pop up. So I can use this to speak that. So let's just add another one to the skin. I'm going to drag that and make it a child of, this is the info pop-up, and here is the body text. Now it's empty because obviously it gets its body text from a placeholder. So this is the other good thing about this component. It will read any text that's been applied to a text box. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is just anchor it top right of that text box and set its position so it's in the right place. And we can save and close, and when we go to the node where we've got the information pop up, here it is. I could have actually moved the button into a more sensible place, but here it is. And when I click the button,
in 1718 the monastery burned down.
It starts to speak the text in the pop-up. And also, you probably notice, you click it once, it starts to speak. If you click it again, it will stop it. And if you click from one to another, one will stop and then another one will start. So I can...
in 1718 the monastery speak this text.
There we go. All right, so that's it working with text boxes. Now, there's one other little trick we can do. Now, being part of being accessible means that you need audio descriptions, and that also means of your panorama. So what you can do is, I'm going to use the description text box here, and I've put in description of node 1, description of node 2, 3, 4, etc. You can use any of the other user data text boxes, but I'm just using the description one. Right, so with that said, this is going to be my audio description of the Pano. And to make this work, I'm going to add a text box, all right, and I'm going to give this text box the placeholder. So highlight the text, use this insert placeholder, user data, description. So we've got the $UD. Now we've got a couple of options here. What I'm going to do is, as I say, just add the component, all right, bring it over. I could set it here, right, so it's one side of the text box, because I don't really want to see the text box. So what I could do is just with the text box selected, move it off screen. There we go, and then I can anchor it. Let's do that. Okay, so that's now anchored top right. So if I now close and save, what will happen is, here's my text box, and when I click it,
Description of node 1.
it reads out the description text field, and when I go to node 2, the same button now.
Description of node 2.
Well, so basically, as we can change the text in a text box with placeholders or with set value actions, we can obviously get the same button to read out those different texts. What's also good about this is it works with our keyboard mapping as well. So as an example, if I select this, let's call this our Panorama audio description box or button. So I'm going to give it not the alternative text. I'm going to give it the keyboard shortcut of I for information. All right. So when I get to a panorama, press the I button. I want it to give me an audio description of the Pano. So let's close, save. So here I'm now. I'm here, and when I press the I button on the keyboard,
Description of node 1.
and if I go to the next node, press it.
Description of node 2.
So we can now map keyboard or map keys to this as well. Okay, so that's being used as child elements of everything. But as I said, it's actually a graphic with an action. The other thing is as well is, I can quickly show you, is if I add another one. All right, here it is. So let's just put it over here. And let me hide in the skin the information box. Don't need to see that anymore. So here it is. Now, as I said, it will read alt text. So of course the component itself is an image that has alt text. So I can read self. Okay, so I can add that, click, and where is it? Here. If I click that,
Read self.
there you go. So I could have actually just, swapped out the, as I say, because it's just a graphic, I could have swapped out the graphic for an I symbol and typed in whatever I needed to type in here. I could have used a text editor, typed in loads of text, and just paste it in here for it to read it out. Okay, so that's another one, or another way of using it. But what I want to show you now, because it can use the alt text and it's just an action, what I'm going to do now is get the logo to be clickable. So I'm going to select the component, I'm going to right button click and copy the action, and then I'm going to delete the component. I'm going to select my logo and paste it in. All right. Now it's already got alt text, I've put it in there, so Garden Gnome logo. So that's it, that's all I needed to do. So if I now click the logo,
Garden Gnome logo.
all right, so basically it's just an action. I know that we've got the little speaker there, but as I say, we can use these actions in, images, or we could even use the action in this text box directly. So again, as an example, here, if I select this and click paste, because it was already copied, I can get rid of the component on the side. The text box itself now has the action when it's clicked to speak.
Speak this text.
There you go. So that's a good use of this component. Now, one of the other things you need to do when making accessible tours is, when you hover over buttons, you need an audio description of that button and what's it going to do. Now, you can do that using this component. What I've got here is the next and previous panorama buttons. So I've already added alternative text, so next panorama, previous panorama. So all we need to do now is, I'm going to copy in the action. I still already had it copied, or pasting the action. I still already had it copied from when we were using the logo. But this time round, instead of the mouse click, I am going to give it the mouse enter action, or mouse over, whichever you prefer, but mouse enter. Okay, so I click and save, and we publish this out. When I hover over the next panorama button,
Next panorama.
here we go.
Next panorama.
So we can do that. I can obviously just paste that action to all the other buttons, so when we hover over them, it talks all the time. Okay, so that's basically how to use this component. And if you're happy with that, we can stop here. But what I want to do from now onwards is add a little bit of craziness. I say craziness. What we're going to do is add a variable, and I'm going to show you how you can quickly, with a project, use a button to either toggle the speech on and off, and how to painlessly add this feature to your tours. So I've already got a variable set up. I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to delete the action we set here. So let's sort of say, right, we're going to start this project as a fresh. I want to add the component, and I want to make everything, like all my elements on mouse over, talk to me, and I want to be able to switch that on and off. Right, so step one then is to add a variable. So I'm going to call this var underscore text to speech. It will be a true false variable, and I will set it to false because I do not want it speaking to start with. That is going to be a user option. I need to have a button to toggle that variable, so I'm going to use a text box for simplicity, but you could again have a little picture of a speaker or whatever. And the action will be mouse click, set variable value. I want to affect the var text to speech variable, and I want to use the not action, which is the toggle. So if it's not true, make it true. If it's true, it's not false. If it's not false, make it false. So that's the not action. Basically, it's a toggle. So that's that. So when we click this now, it will just toggle the variable. Now I just want to quickly make sure that I've anchored that bottom, which I have, and we'll give this a name. Let's call it talk. Oh. So that's that. Right, now what I would do is go to the Components Toolbox, select, find my component, and I'm going to copy the component's action, and then I can delete it. All right, don't need it, because what I'm going to do is set up one button. So I'm going to set it up to say on mouse enter. All right, so let's so mouse enter. I want it to say something, but I'm going to use the action filter of variable var tts when that's true. So only do this when the variable is true. Okay, so let's just test that. So let's save, create the output. When we hover over this button, nothing. When we click the talk button,
Next panorama. Next panorama.
right, so that we now know that works. Okay, so all we need to do now to add this to all the other buttons in the skin is select that one that's now working. All right, I'm going to right button click and copy, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all the buttons in the skin. All right, so I'm going to hold down the command key whilst I select, or the control key on the Windows, command on Mac, and so I can select all my buttons in the skins tree, and then I'm going to paste that one action by doing command V on the Mac, control V on the PC, and that's now done. All right, so if we just have a quick look at one, you can see that action's been pasted in. As I said, I'd already added the alternative text, so really you've got to make sure that you have alternative text in all your other buttons. So let's just type this in, close, pop up. All right, so that's typed in. So now what we should have is our tour that when I hover over, nothing. When I select to talk,
Previous panorama. Next panorama.
we can now click the hotspot. When we open up the info hotspot, we can get
In
it to talk.
1718 the monos.
So that's it talking, and then we hover over the close button,
Close pop-up.
and there we go. So you can now make your panoramas with, audio descriptions. So not only audio descriptions using the user data description to tell people or give an audio description of what's on the screen, but you can have audible tooltips that when you hover over certain elements or buttons, it tells you what they're going to do as well. Anyway, that's our new text-to-speech component. I hope you find it all useful, and as always, thanks for watching.